What is up, y'all? Goofy Rexy here, and hope everybody is doing well. And welcome, guys, to the weekly headliner update, week number 66. Now, if you're new to the weekly headliner, this is where we discuss what is upcoming this week in Marvel Strike Force, and then we recap the important topics from the previous week as well. Now, we got lots to talk about here this week. We got the Pestilence Scourge event that's going to be starting on Wednesday. We're going to go over the details of the event, some concerns that we also have as well. We're also going to recap the Wong Blitz. Numbers were higher than even what I expected. So we're going to talk about that as well. Tower mode has returned. Some interesting leaderboard stuff going on already, which is concerning considering we're going to have another leaderboard to worry about with the Morgan Scourge event. DHS, his campaign that happened last year. We're going to talk about a recap of how the heroic nodes were, and then some farming stuff that's going on right now with the hard nodes as well. And then Daga is in the arena orb. Did not expect that, guys. We're going to talk about that. It's this and so much more, guys, on the weekly headliner update. And we're going to start right now. All right, y'all, welcome back. And yeah, I mean, let's start it off here with probably the biggest topic of this week, right, which is the Pestilence Scourge event for Morgan Le Fay. And there's a lot of things that are interesting to me. So number one, I mean, some changes here. They talked about, you know, the points that you need for your run score in order for you to be able to get a 3-star Morgan Le Fay. They also made some changes to difficulties as well, which I think could be positive, but also could be negative to a certain extent too. But we'll talk about that here. Red stars for Morgan Le Fay, definitely a concern for me here. And then also I want to say Dark Hunters. We had an opportunity here to test the Dark Hunter team. The CC's an opportunity to test it over the past 2 days or so. And I want to say Dark Hunters, I can't really share much information about anything else, right? But what I can say is that if you're thinking about investing to Dark Hunters for your Scourge event, just understand that they're probably at best going to be a sacrifice team. They do not do well in the Scourge event at all. It seems as if they'll almost like the nodes were created to basically counter them. Web Warriors are probably going to be a much better option for you for the Scourge event here. But let's start off at the top, right? So in the blog post, they mentioned this and they talked about how you're going to be able to, the run score that you need in order to be able to get a 3-star Morgan Le Fay. So if you have a run score of 500k, you'll be able to get a automatic 3-star unlock for Morgan Le Fay. So in the milestones, if we take a look at this preview here, look through the milestones, once you get to 500k, which is milestone 17, you're going to get a 3-star unlock for Morgan Le Fay. They also mentioned that if you're not able to get a 500k run score, and if you at least get to 425k points, that you'll be able to get that through the ranked leaderboards, that you'll be able to get the additional shards that you need in order for you to be able to get a 3-star unlock. So if you're not able to hit 500k points on your run score the first time around, if you're only able to get 425k, then through the ranked leaderboards, because at the very bottom rank, you're going to be able to get 40 shards. And then if you get to 425k, you get 60 shards plus the 40 shards. That's going to give you the 100 shard unlock that you need here for Morgan Le Fay. So that's probably good. There's just still a lot more information that we need to know, right? So what are these other nodes going to look like? And then what are the restrictions there? Now, this is what's interesting about this. I talked about the difficulty changes that they mentioned. So if you haven't seen this yet, I'll read this really quickly here. So we've been doing a lot of internal testing that has led us to lowering the difficulty levels to unlock Morgan Le Fay since it was first announced. Instead of requiring difficulty 5, most players should now be able to unlock Morgan Le Fay at difficulty 4, providing that enough Scourges are enabled to earn the required points. Instead of requiring difficulty 6 with Web Warriors and Dark Hunters, this requirement was lowered to difficulty 5. Keep in mind that the level of the challenge you experience will still depend on the combination of Scourges that you select, allowing for custom encounter for each player. So to me, I see this as a good thing and a bad thing, and I'll talk about the reason why. So I actually think overall, in a vacuum, I think lowering the difficulty to difficulty 4 will probably include more of your player base, right? That will be able to enjoy an unlock for Morgan Le Fay, which I think overall is actually a good thing, right? Because yeah, I mean, difficulty 5, I think the requirement for difficulty 5 was G13 plus. I think difficulty 4, not requirement, a recommendation was G13 plus. The difficulty 4, the recommendation I think is like gear tier 11. So probably bodes better, right? Or it's a good thing that they're going to be lowering the difficulty, and that will give you at least a better option of being able to unlock Morgan Le Fay. The one bad portion of it is that if you were probably planning on not using Web Warriors at all, but you had a pretty good slot roster that was built up enough to probably do difficulty 5, let's say that you weren't able to get good red stars or stars overall on your Scarlet Spider because of the event release, or because of Ghost Spider because of her event release because she was a Blitz, and maybe you weren't able to get good red star or stars or red stars on those characters. Now having to build them up for difficulty 5 and potentially not being able to use them in difficulty 5 because maybe they don't have enough stars on them can be a little bit frustrating. So I guess we're gonna have to kind of see what this overall looks like once it actually goes live into the game. But there's still a lot of information that, in my opinion, is still left out, right? There's a lot of omitted information. Number one, what do the other nodes look like? So what are the restrictions? Are the restrictions going to look like? Do I need a hero team? Do I need a villain team? Do I need a cosmic team? And there was this data mine that went out last week that kind of broke down some stuff. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't want to look at the data mines anymore. I want to see the actual information in the game because, yeah, node 1 here, difficulty 1. And this data mine went out before the blog post too. So difficulty 6 here through 10 was Web Warriors and Dark Hunters. But now that has changed. So what does this data mine really mean? So I just think that there needs to be more upfront information. I would have preferred that in the preview that they would have given us information about what the nodes would look like, right? So, and then also what the scourges are going to look like as well. Because right now there's a plethora of scourges. Yes, there was a data mine about the scourges that could be applied, but man, give us some more information because now we're going into this blind on Wednesday. We're going into this blind. A lot of you guys are going into this blind on Wednesday, not having any sort of an idea of what the other restrictions are, what the scourges are going to look like, what you could get for points, things of that nature. I know maybe that's exciting for some of you, but for me personally, I like to be able to know what I need to build for an event. When you look at previous legendary events, right? Omega Red, Adam Warlock, I needed to build XYZ team and get them to XYZ stars in order to be able to unlock so-and-so at this star level. Right now with the Scourge event, all we know is in order to be able to get a 3-star unlock for Morgan Le Fay, I can get here. But what about, being able to do what are the other things that I need to build for right now with my roster so I can get in these higher ranks as well? And then let's talk about red stars. So they give us some red star information on Morgan Le Fay as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about the rank rewards and all that too. But I'm getting a little carried away with all this other stuff here. But red stars for the Horsemen, they give us a little blurb on this here. Also new for Scourge events is the method of earning red stars specifically for the Horsemen, which can be achieved through these methods. The first method is through the rank rewards, giving extra incentive to earn the highest score possible. And this is concerning. The rank rewards are still concerning because of the previous events with rank rewards. And right now, if you look at Tower, there's some concerns there. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in this video. But what we know is that if you're 61 to 80%, you can get 1 red star, 26 to 30, you can get 2. If you want to get anything, if you want to get, let's say 4 red stars, you got to be in the top 3,000 in order to be able to get 4 red stars on Morgan. Now, you may say, hey, if I'm only going to get a 3 yellow star Morgan, it probably doesn't matter anyways. But the way I look at it, this is, dang, that's pretty high, man, in order for me to be able to get 4 red stars. And you're trying to tell me that at 3 from rank 25 or top 3,000, that I'm only getting 4 red stars on Morgan Le Fay? Probably doesn't feel that great, right? So I feel like this should have been scaled a little bit differently. And if you are not in the top 3,000, then the best that you can get is 3 red stars. And of course, we can see sort of what even the shard rankings too are a little daunting when you think about it. So yeah, I think if you get the highest score here, or if you get to 1, if you're 1 to 750, I think you can get a total of a 6-star Morgan Le Fay. So 5 red stars. Sorry, 5 red stars if you're in the 1 to top 10 here. I don't know. I just feel like the red stars should have been scaled a little bit differently. But if you want to get additional red stars on Morgan, let's say that you get a 4-star Morgan Le Fay, but you only get a 3-star Morgan Le Fay through red star Morgan Le Fay through the rank rewards, then your second method is going to be through dark promotion credits, which will be a new slot which will be added to the elite store featuring only the Horseman characters. Player will need to be a level 42 in order to be able to unlock the Elite Store. So this is the other portion that concerns the heck out of me, man. Dark promotion credits. It's not like as if though we're getting a plethora of these in the game, right? We're not getting like a massive assortment of these. Number one, you want to save your basic Red Star orbs to open them up when there's not a feature character in the Red Star orb. And we have gone probably in the past, I've seen us go like 6-7 weeks where we've had a featured character in the Red Star orbs. So we were able to get that 10 times up for the dark promotion credit. So that's concerning. The character release cadence is concerning because the more you release characters, quicker you release characters, then it means that the wider the gap is going to be for us to be able to get that 10 times rate up on our dark promotion credits. Also, Nowhere Heist does not give us very good rewards, in my opinion, right? So the first, well, I think a lot of us probably share the same opinion where it comes to that, but Nowhere Heist, decent first time rewards, but the recurring ones are absolutely abysmal. It's not very good at all. And then we also just don't get a lot of basic red stars in general, right? So, I mean, you get your 5 from your login calendar. I think if you go through your challenges like 3 times a week, right? At the highest tier, I think you're getting like an additional 9,000 fragments. So what's that, an additional 4 orbs? So you're getting like 9 basic red star orbs on a weekly basis. I don't know, in my opinion, it's just not enough really for you to be able to make that much of a dent. And if this is going to be, if we're going to be limited to only 3, most people, because let's be honest, most players are only going to end up getting 3 red stars through the rank rewards for these legendary horsemen. It just really stretches out the gap quite a bit to be able to get some meaningful red stars here on your characters, because for endgame content, you likely want to be able to get at least a minimum of 4 red stars on your character. Yes, these newer characters now are good at 3 red stars. But I don't know. That's where my thoughts are. Now, maybe the game is changing a little bit. If they're going to continue to keep this sort of cadence in how they're going to release legendary characters, maybe stars won't be as important moving forward. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this right now. That's kind of just where my mind stays. And if we spent dark promo credits recently on Doom, then I'm sorry. Like I did probably 2-3 weeks ago, or at least a month ago. Probably doesn't feel that great as well. But listen, those are my thoughts here on the event on Morgan Le Fay. I'm going to be streaming live on Twitch, the Scourge event here. So do come check me out. 9 p.m. or probably 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when I'm going to be streaming the Scourge event here. I'll go through it with my roster and see how things go. We're going to be doing this together. Like I said, even though we did test some stuff here on the play test, a lot of that stuff is subject to change, so we're gonna have to see what happens there on Wednesday. But my recommendation, if you're trying to build up Dark Hunters, I would probably pause and hold off on that. But more information will be shared on Wednesday too as well, once the embargo is lifted. But listen, let's talk about something else here. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the Morgan Le Fay stuff. I'm curious to see where you kind of land on that right now. All right, next thing I wanted to talk about here were blitzes, right? So we had a big blitz this past weekend in the Wong Blitz. So that was interesting. The numbers there were pretty high. Now, this week's blitzes are a little less exciting. I would say we have Agent Coulson, which is going to be tonight here. Then we also do have Proxima, which is going to be on Thursday. Personally, I'm very happy with that. I know a lot of us were expecting that Wong was going to come around for a second iteration of his blitz. I'm actually super happy about it. Right now, we have Avengers Tower that just went live on Saturday. We have the Scourge event where a lot of us are going to be doing multiple runs, right, to try to get the highest run score possible. And then if you were to add in a Wong blitz on top of that, oh boy, man, that would have been a little bit too much, right? So personally, I'm actually very happy that we're not getting a Wong blitz on Thursday. I would assume that probably next week is when we're going to be getting our next iteration of the Wong blitz. But let's talk about some numbers here. So numbers were really, really high, I think, this time. I think the predictions, let's jump back to this really quickly here. So the predictions for the top 100 rank was 72.6 million, which in reality is still pretty high, right? And then top 1% was 53.4 million. Now, I don't know specifically where top 1% landed. Usually top 1% is usually about 56, 55 mil, but it seemed like there was a lot of players that I was talking to that were already at like 61, 62 million before the blitz was over yesterday. So I'm curious to see what actual top 1% numbers were. But for the top 100, the ranks there, the top number was, I think it was 76 million was the cutoff, which is insane, man. It's really insane that the numbers are so high. Now, I expect the numbers to be a little bit higher than the predictions, only because Wong is an arena character, and we've, as you've seen with some of my videos, probably some of the other Envoy videos, you've seen that Wong is an important character on the team. So is Agatha, so is Morgan. You know, of course, Strange with the damage and Scarlet Witch to a certain extent, right? But Wong is definitely a big important character. You want your Wong, yes, I know, here's a pun, right? You want your Wong to be as big as possible. Don't we all? In order for you to be able to win these mirror matches here, or at least to be able to prevent some of the other players from being able to beat your team. So these numbers were very, very, very high, and I'm not surprised. And I would suspect usually the second iteration of the character Blitz, those numbers are usually a little bit less than the first time, because players get the shards that they want on the first run. They can kind of taper off a little bit on the second run because they only need, like for me personally, I got 63 million on this Blitz. I was able to hit top 1%. So I got 100 shards for him. So now on the next Blitz, I only have to get, from the rank rewards, I only have to get 45 shards in order for me to get a 5-star Wong and fill out my 5th red star on him. So I know that I'm going to be blitzing at a significantly less clip than what I did in the first run of Wong. So I'm curious where you guys landed. Like, where were your numbers, right? Like, where did you land and what percentage did you get for your blitz numbers? I want you guys to let me know that, throw that in the chat. But wanted to also talk about this, since we talked about Tower a little bit too, is some concerns that we have with these rank rewards right now. So we know that the Scourge event is going to start on Wednesday. Avengers Tower is currently live right now. I don't know why I exited out of the screen. Tower was literally like, just scroll down, Goofy, Jesus. But yeah, if we look at Tower right here, click on rewards, and you look at the leaderboards, there's some massive concerns right now that I have, which made me concerned for the Pestilence Scourge event, right? So this person right here that's at number 62. I don't know how they could be. I've checked the TCP. TCP is 12 million. I mean, hey, I'm impressed if you're doing really well there at 12 million TCP to be in the top 100. But these are concerns that I currently have, right, with the rank leaderboards. And are they going to be, how careful are they going to be with the Morgan Le Fay Pestilence Scourge event, making sure that people can't hack those leaderboards? We've seen a little bit more with Dark Dimension. Now we're seeing it again with Avengers Tower. We're seeing it with war attacks. There's been some pictures around with war attacks where players are going with these underpowered teams and are beating these big teams. There's a lot more hackage and stuff going on right now, and I'm wondering, is Scopely equipped to be able to deal with this? And this is going to be a major concern for me with the Morgan Le Fay Scourge event, because those rank rewards are tied towards some very important shards. You know I'm probably going to want to try to at least get a 5-star Morgan Le Fay. Maybe impossible for me to be able to do that in comparison to some of the other guys that have these bigger TCPs, right, than I do, which is fine. Like, I know I'll at least be able to get a 4-star Morgan Le Fay, but what about somebody that is hacking just to be able to get a 3-star Morgan Le Fay? Does that prevent other players from being able to get the shards that they need for a 4-star? I don't know, man. I'm a little concerned about it. Seeing this right now with Avengers Tower, like I said, there's no way, I can't see how it's possible that this individual right now is able to stay in the top 100 amongst all these other guys that are 22, 23 million TCP. It just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever, and that is majorly concerning for me. It's something that I definitely think that they should look into. But yeah, guys, Avengers Tower, I'm happy it's back. Looking forward to some rewards here. It looks like this went back to sort of the old format, because we had like some 93k teams, 94. So this looks like it was the very first one that they did, right? The very first tower that they did. Looks like they kind of went back to that here. Some changes a little bit, but yeah, this one hasn't been very complex, very hard. I'm kind of doing a lot of this on Sim. Now that we're up to floor 53, and if we lose a matchup, I think once you get to like 60, if you lose a matchup, you get knocked down or something like that, or like 55, right? So we're gonna have to pay attention a little bit more. But I'm enjoying Avengers Tower. I want to know where you guys are. You guys enjoying Avengers Tower? Do you like it in general? I still think that they need to make some changes to where, if you're doing Avengers Tower, to lessen some of the other stuff that you're doing in game, would like to see them make some changes there as well. But yeah, those are my thoughts here, guys, on that. Let's move on to something else. All right, guys. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this as well. Let me just do something really quick here. This is the last blog post that we had. As you can see, I'm searching Agatha, and I didn't see anything that popped up at all. So I don't know if you saw anything about it either. Where's the information on Agatha's event? Where is it? I thought it was interesting, very interesting to me. I don't think I've ever seen this before, and somebody remind me if this is the case. But have you ever seen a legendary event start before the other characters for the legendary team were released? This is probably the first time I've ever seen this. Now, like I said, I don't know if excited is the right word that the Pestilence Scourge event is coming on Wednesday. I think I'm more curious, right, about the Pestilence Scourge event that's coming on Wednesday. I'm going to do my best, right, to be able to get through it. But I thought that at least Agatha would have been released before all we've had so far. So we saw in-game mail. I was trying to find it. I couldn't even find it anymore. But there's an in-game mail that talked about Agatha, that she's going to be a milestone event, right? We have no idea what that milestone event is. Now, we assume that milestone events usually are tied towards activity in the game, raids, arena. You get points, you open up orbs, blah, blah, blah. You climb up those milestones. They're usually tied to an event store. Cool. Great. Where is that information? We have nothing that's related to that as of yet. I just think it's kind of curious that Agatha, we have no information on her event, and that Morgan Le Fay. I'm almost wondering if they're rushing Morgan Le Fay, and if they are, then for what reason are they doing that? I don't know, but we do have another Darkhold Characters event that is currently live right now. That's Doctor Strange Heartless, right? His event campaign. So quick thoughts on last week's event for Doctor Strange Heartless. If you're an endgame player and you had a lot of the characters already built up, right, to be able to do this event, the unyielding characters, if you had like Zemo and Nebula and Gamora already at G15 and Deathpool and Lady Deathstrike or Ghost or whatever, if you already had those characters built up, this was the cakewalk, right? I think for the most part, I essentially autoed this. I think there was one point where I almost lost Lady Deathstrike towards the very end. And then there was like clappage from like Deathpool or Gamora. Somebody deleted somebody, and I was like, oh, we're good now. We're good now. And then I think like Lady Deathstrike did her ult and then cleared her buffs off herself. So I was like, yeah, all right, I guess we're fine now. So from that perspective, it was fairly easy. And there were some talks about some players who were like, man, this was way too easy. I thought this was going to be harder. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't share the same sentiment. I'm cool with it not being that hard. Because personally, if it was harder, I guess like it would have added a little bit more interesting stuff to it. But being the fact that the main part of the campaign event, right, is complete the nodes, farm. Complete the nodes and farm. That's really my concern. Is complete the nodes and then be able to farm. That's really kind of it for me, right? So the excitement there that it was a little bit more challenging was interesting. Now, the concern is probably, what about future events when the characters aren't as favorable? That might be a problem, right? Like if we get something like where it's Pocket Dimension, where we just had the characters, what was the tag? I forgot what the tag was for the most recent Pocket Dimension event here. If it's something like that, I could see where that would have been really hard in this campaign event, because some of the characters there, they weren't that great. So using Black Bolt and Yo-Yo and some of the Dark-Hearted characters, I probably wouldn't have gone over that well. So, and then of course I do understand to my counterparts out there who were didn't have those characters built up. I could see where this was probably a little bit more challenging. There were some of you guys that popped into my stream on Twitch when I was doing this live that did have some struggles there. So I do want to say, like, it was definitely end game content, not necessarily mid game to end game content. It's more definitely end game content for sure. But I'm glad that it wasn't more challenging, because then they would make it even more challenging for those players who probably had to do the last node 3-4 times. So I'm happy that for that perspective, that at least those players were able to do it. But there was some concerns here with some of the campaign farms. So Heroic, the recommendation actually, I think, was that if you are going to be doing your farms, that you should actually do your hard node farms first, because these actually cost less. But there was also a little bit of a major problem that they had as well. So as you can see, I have some check marks here. it looks as if though for the hard nodes that they limited the amount of orb fragments that you could get on some of these nodes. So I think the reason why that happened is because it looks like they probably just copied and pasted, right? So they copied and pasted medium and then changed it and called it hard, but didn't actually increase the amount of fragments that you could collect from each individual nodes. And to me, that's a nerf a little bit to this, because what about players who are not able to get through heroic? They're now suffering because they cannot do heroic and they can only do hard. That's a problem, guys. That's a problem. And I don't like when you change and you make endgame content more challenging for endgame players to benefit endgame players, but then as a result, you kind of screw earlier players or players who are not completely endgame. I don't like that, because it's like you're saying that they don't matter, right? And that to me is where I have a little bit of an issue with this. And also that I've been living under a rock this past week, so I haven't seen them say anything where that has addressed this whatsoever, if there's going to be compensation for this, because there's a lot of players who will probably be missing out on these unyielding orb fragments right now, because they're hitting these limits like how I've hit these limits. They're hitting these limits right now because I'm going after these nodes first and then do my heroic. At least once these are done, I can now just start targeting my heroic nodes, right? That's what I was doing anyways. I was doing my hard nodes first, and then I was from 1-4 through 1-9, and then I was coming back to my heroic nodes and then finishing off those for the day. They probably don't have that as an option if they weren't able to do any of the heroic. At least if they were able to do some of the heroic campaign nodes, maybe they're able to farm those, but that definitely is a major problem, something that needs to be addressed in my personal opinion. So I want to know what's your experience right now. Are you experiencing this right now? Are you seeing limitations on what you can farm in some of these nodes? Curious to know that, and we definitely need to get the word out to Scope a little bit more so that they can also know that they need to make some changes for this, either now with giving some compensation for you guys, and also just making these changes in the future to make sure that people can actually farm the hard nodes as many times as they used to be able to in the past. All right, and then I wanted to talk about this too as well. So logged in this week, like we logged in with Pocket Dimension and a couple weeks ago and saw that there was a timer in the game, right, for Pocket Dimension. Well, we logged into Marvel Strike Force one night, pulled up our arena, and then saw that Dagger was in the arena orb, which was a major shock to us because number one, the data mines, which I guess this is kind of a lesson to us, right, that data mines aren't always correct. You know, there is this small window where these data mines do not have the full information here. So we logged in, we saw that Dagger was in the arena orb, which to be fair probably makes more sense to me, because why would they throw both Cloak and Dagger in the same raid store? It didn't really fully make sense. Now I'm a little disappointed because obviously Dagger is, I don't know, like Cloak and Dagger as being available options to some earlier players, I think would have been a really nice touch for them, right? I think it would have been really, really cool to do it because, I mean, let's be honest, some of the characters that you get in the earlier part of the game right now, they just aren't very good. They don't really translate very well to the late part of the game. So you kind of feel as if though you're kind of wasting resources with some of those characters. Or you just have to play the game at a much slower pace and wait for those good characters to invest into them. Save your orbs if you need to, so that you can open them up for when newer characters get added into those orbs. Things like that, right? But I don't know. I feel like this is a missed opportunity and kind of frustrating, slightly frustrating to me, because I was waiting to see what happened with Dagger, because I wanted to make my updated beginner character video, which I'm going to be doing probably sometime over the next 2 days, probably tomorrow. I was really hoping that Dagger would be a recommendation, but now she's in the arena orb for 800 credits and at a low drop rate, right? So what's her percentage drop rate for the drop in the middle? Only at a 3% drop rate, you can get 10 shards for her. So 10% chance that you can actually get Dagger from the middle. Not great. I took a picture here. I'll pull it up right now. I opened up 47 orbs for Dagger, and I'm finding it right now. 47 orbs for Dagger, and this is what I was able to get in terms of shards for her. So 47 orbs, 47 arena orbs, because I wanted to test it out myself. I had some arena credits, and I was able to get 38 Dagger shards, right? So I would never. What earlier player is going to be able to open up 47 orbs to try to land shards? I definitely would not recommend you doing that. That's a waste of your credits. I think probably the direction to go in now, because you're going to need this character for a legendary unlock anyways, is Shatterstar. Shatterstar is a cheaper character now because he dropped from 900 to 500k credits. I will probably go after Shatterstar there as opposed to going after Dagger. And then, yeah, I mean, still probably open up your raid orbs here to land multiple characters from the raid store, because there's some really good characters. Sharon Carter, there's Zemo, there's also Cloak and Dagger. There's also Cloak, sorry, not Dagger. So I don't know, a little disappointed that that they did that with Dagger, but yeah, she is in the arena orb, and also a lesson to us to make sure that we don't probably put too much clout into the data mines when we see them. Just say, okay, this is what could happen. Let's not make any roster plans based on data mines, which probably should have been our practice anyways moving forward. But wanted to talk about this next thing too. This was a big one that popped up this week as well, and it was this bug with Dormammu, right? So Dormammu's special ability, when T4 reads as such. So apply stun and apply trauma for 2 turns to the primary target. It turns out that this is actually not functioning the correct way in Marvel Strikeforce right now. So apparently he's only applied stun for 1 turn. He is applying the trauma for 2 turns, but he's only applying stun for 1 turn. So this was never working the way it was supposed to. And if you look at other characters, there's other characters like Sharon Carter, where if you T4 her special, her ability block goes from just being 1 turn to now 2 turns. So we expected that was kind of the way that Dormammu was reading, right? Apply stun and then trauma for 2 turns, because before it was apply stun and trauma to the primary target, and then when you T4 it was apply stun and trauma for 2 turns. That's how the English language works, right? Apply stun and trauma for 2 turns, but that's currently not the way it's working. It's only applying stun for 1 turn. It is applying trauma for 2 turns. And there was a dev video that went out where Remenex did a video with the dev and talked about Dormammu and the fact that he is indeed supposed to apply stun and trauma for 2 turns. So something buggy is going on there. And I know a lot of players right now are getting ready to get their Dormammu. There's been a lot of players who have had Dormammu, and I feel as if though that stun, additional turn on that stun, probably would have been a pretty big deal for some of their matchups if that were to go the way it was supposed to. Especially now that going into Darkhold, there's going to be probably some Dormammu teams that you're going to be using on war defense. So once again, kind of having it work the correct way is incredibly important. So hopefully this information has been shared with the devs. Hopefully this is something that they are going to look at and make the changes for, because I definitely do think this is impactful to the game and something that they definitely should pay attention to. But that's pretty much it for me, guys, this week. Wrapping up here, wanted to talk about the Ion store really quickly. Nothing crazy, but they did make this change last week, and I didn't really review it or go over it. So now there's this in the store, the ISO store, you can now use your ions to purchase certain crystals. I don't know if I like this, right? I think ions you can go through ions pretty quickly when you start upgrading like full-on teams. So I don't necessarily know if I like the idea of using my ions to be able to go through the store and to purchase different items. I think ultimately, you kind of want to wait, and I think you want to just ultimately farm your ISO crystals before you kind of decide to spend them here. This is kind of one of those things where you can do it if you're desperate. You can go ahead and you can go in that direction. But these are my thoughts, guys, on what's going on this week. A lot of stuff with the Morgan Le Fay Scourge event. Quite a few things here that we want to pay attention to. Some information that we need. What are the other restrictions on the nose? Do we need a cosmic team? Do we need a mystic team? What teams do we need in order to be able to get through the Scourge event here? I want to know what that is. We need some more information on the Scourges, what the Scourge is going to look like. I just would like some more information overall. I feel like there's just way too much ambiguity right now going into these events. But I also think it's very good, because I think players need to be able to plan out their rosters so that they can make good, educated decision with their resources. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, guys. Check out the links here down below in the description as well. Like I said, my Twitch link is there. Follow me on Twitch where I stream Marvel Strike Force content 3 times a week. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, where I do post updates throughout the week. Join my Discord. Would love to have some discussions there. I have some pretty good discussions every now and again in the Discord, so definitely would love for you to join that as well. And also my Patreon, guys, another way for you to support the channel for just $2 a month. So check out my Patreon as well. Until next time, guys, y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe. Bye. We don't talk about leaderboards, no, no, no. We don't talk about leaderboards.